Hi, you're watching Construction Gaming and welcome to Ravenport on Farming Simulator 19. This is the home base for a brand new series I'm calling Farming Facts, in which I hope to talk about the gaming basics and how they would be done in real life and talk in depth a bit about some of the machinery as well. In today's episode though I'm going to be talking about ploughing and subsoiling, because if you play with periodic ploughing required, this is an important step within the game. If you don't plough, I think it reduces the yield by 10 or 15%. I'm just going to start this guy off here, ploughing. Now what he's doing is he's turning the first 5 to 10 inches of the ground, the earth, turning that right over, burying stubble and weeds. In this case I'm ploughing over crop because I don't need it, but in real life he'd just be ploughing weeds and stubble into the ground, bringing nutrients to the surface and breaking up the ground to about between 5 and 10 inches as well, which helps with drainage and helps the new crop establish itself. Now the problem with ploughing is, let's take this Agro Maz plough for instance. 2.5 meters in width, requires 180 horsepower to pull it, because it is doing quite a lot of work turning over all of that earth. I'll let him carry on a bit. There is an alternative to ploughing however, and that is subsoiling. If you use a subsoiler on a field that requires ploughing, it shows as ploughed. So I'll show you the subsoiler. I'll just let him finish off and then I will show you the subsoiler. Right, so now we have the subsoiler attached. This is the Agrisem 4-meter subsoiler. This only requires 140 horsepower. But basically what this will be doing in real life is it works between let's see now, 10 and 18 inches below the ground, and when this lifts in a minute I will quickly zoom in. You can see it has these blades or fins on the bottom, and what they actually do is they lift the earth, and as it comes back down again it breaks, it shatters, and this is happening between 10 and 18 inches below the surface. What this does is it helps with drainage, and it also helps with establishing crop, as they find it easier to get the roots down to depths, increases yields. Now the only thing with this is it differs from real life, is you would only see 6 lines basically in the ground. You wouldn't see this cultivated state that the game has, because basically all the action is happening 10 to 18 inches below the surface of the earth. It doesn't actually do any cultivating. All you would see are literally just those 6 lines where the blades have cut through the earth. So yeah, it's slightly unrealistic in that sense, but you could potentially use it as an alternative to ploughing. Within the game it does show as a ploughed state. They are doing sort of a similar job in breaking up below the surface, and that allows plants to establish, crop to establish better. But yeah, this does nothing to the surface of the ground. Now if I go to the map, you can see if I turn, yeah, that's all turned off, where it says needs ploughing, it's red. Turn that off, turn fertilising off. Basically if the field requires nothing, then it should just be this brown colour. It's showing fully fertilised, but that's because I am ploughing the crop back into the ground, so you don't need to fertilise in this instance. But that's not really the important point. It's the point that the subsoiler and a plough both have the same effect on the field, other than the kind of the visual aspect of it, where this shows kind of a cultivated state. The plowed state has proper furrows. And if I just stop this guy doing what he's doing, it leads me on to the next point. Actually, we can leave him doing what he's doing. Now, the benefit in the game of subsoiling is the power requirements versus the width, because this is 4 meters wide and only requires 140 horsepower to pull it, whereas the plough is only 2.5 meters wide and requires 180 horsepower. So there's a big difference there, especially if you're starting out with small machinery. I mean, this is the Vulture T194, has 210 horsepower. It's a pretty standard machine. If I go into the shop, look at the ploughs. This is the Agro plough here. If you wanted to go up a level, at the minute anyway, to 4.9 meters, you'd need 240 horsepower, which is a big jump already. If I go to the subsoilers, we can jump up to, we can't jump at all, can we? Yeah, so but we can do 4 meters with less horsepower than the next plough up, which is only doing 0.9 of a metre more. Also, we have, this is a bit different though. This requires more horsepower. It's doing a lot more work. Well, it would be doing a lot more work in real life. It's cultivating and it's subsoiling, so you probably would get the cultivated state in real life, but this also has the option to fertilise as well, which is handy to have. But then again, this requires 240 horsepower. Now if I skip over to my next tractor, I've got a little Vulture A series here, a 104. It has a seeder on it. Now this seeder does no cultivating at all, so this would be classed as direct seeding. Now, taking into account what I said before, that in real life the subsoiler wouldn't produce the kind of cultivated state, you wouldn't really want to go in with just a seeder like this and direct seed, because there would be weeds and all bits of stubble and everything. But in game it lets you seed straight onto this land here, so as well as ploughing, it's cultivating as well, which differs from real life. Just let him do a bit of that. And this is where it depends on how realistically you want to play the game. Now if I wanted to play like a realistic series or something, after subsoiling I'd go in with a cultivator, or I would use a seeder that seeds and cultivates at the same time. I wouldn't just direct seed with one of these. Also with the ploughing, if we come over here, with all these furrows, you wouldn't come in with a seeder such as this and direct seed into a ploughed field, because it just it wouldn't produce the effect that you're seeing there. Nice smooth field. You've got these deep furrows, and this sort of seeder wouldn't seed properly within them. Again, if you wanted to play it realistically, you'd go over this with a cultivator first, or you'd go over with a cultivator seeder setup. But it depends how realistic you want to play. If you just want to seed straight away and save time, you can do. That's allowed within the game. There we are. If we go into there, you can see that's ploughed, and you can see there I've sown, that's growing now straight into the ground. So there's just a couple of things to think about, how realistic you want to play, and basically explaining some of the very basic starting things that you need to think about. If you've liked this video, found it informative or interesting, please do drop me a like. If there's anything I could do to improve in future, let me know in the description below. But that is the basics covered of ploughing, subsoiling and seeding. Until next time, bye bye.